Now we are live.
Oh, look. Yes, the
Awesome.
broadcast is on. I hope that at least my mom is looking at the stream right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AmberCast, season 5, episode 3. I am joined here by 3 beautiful, wonderful, and smart ladies that will be talking to me, which is pretty much double than the number of women that I've ever spoken at once. I'm kidding.
Come on.
But yes, as part of her own game, AmberCast has invited 3 beautiful, talented, intelligent, and wonderful ladies to discuss what's it like as a woman in games. And I'm gonna ask you girls to introduce yourselves, starting with maybe Mariana, then you can pass the torch. And let's go. Let's do this.
Hello, I'm Mariana. I'm a global talent acquisition manager inside Amber. And I've joined this industry 4 years ago, actually. I'm coming from a family with gamers, actually, inside my family. And somehow this felt the natural way for me to proceed in my career, actually, and start working in gaming. Yeah.
Welcome to AmberCast, Mariana.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Monica?
Sure.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm Monica. I've been with Amber for about 2 years and a half. And Amber is actually the first gaming company I've worked with. And it's been absolutely great so far. Before working with Amber, I've been working in the software industry as a user experience designer. And since I've been with Amber, I initially joined as a UX designer. But since then, I've actually transitioned into a new role, which is a game designer, which I'm really excited to be because gaming has really been a really, really big passion ever since I was little. So it's pretty cool to see that, I actually not only get to play games, I also get to make them, which is really cool.
Making games is a blessing. Oh, look.
It's,
yeah. Yeah. There we go.
Hi.
This is way better than the other position. Hey, I mean, so we were just waiting for you to join and kind of introduce yourself.
Thank you. I am back now. Is it everything okay with the sound and the lights?
It sounds wonderful. You look wonderful, and this
Thank
is
you. I wasn't expecting this. Yeah. Thank you. Did you start it already? Is it my
tell us? No, we're just running the intros. So just tell us a bit about yourself, and why games, and how you ended up doing this, and whatever comes to mind. I will get into the nitty-gritty.
Well, my name is Claire, or Bianca. My real name is obviously Bianca, and I stream on Twitch. I'm a streamer and a TikToker, and I also do some YouTube. I started to play video games, I don't know, when I was like few years, like 5 or 6 or something like this. But I started to play like for real in 2014, I think. I started to play League of Legends, and I ended up streaming in 2017. And since then, this is my job, kind of. I don't know how is it called, but this is not all I do, like streaming. Mam extins, cum se chama?
Right. So you do more than streaming. Yeah.
Yes, and
what else do you do?
And I'm streaming right now, playing League of Legends and also other games. But this is my main game.
Okay. League of Legends. Why not Dota?
Yeah, actually, this is a funny thing because I started to play a league because of a guy. I wanted him to notice me, and a friend on that time told me, yeah, he's playing League of Legends or Dota, and I was like, oh my god, I think I should speak something between those two, because I will definitely meet him on that game. So I started to play League of Legends, and after a few weeks, I ended up knowing that he's actually playing Dota, and I keep playing League because there is a fever, on this game. You can't just quit. And somehow a few years ago, he liked one of my posts on Romanian group from League of Legends, and I was like, oh my god, you saw me right now after all this time when I tried so much. You noticed me, but damn, it's good. I mean, I don't regret anything of. I don't know. This is the best case scenario.
So hang on, you guys never hooked up?
No, never.
Not yet. Not yet,
yet.
at least. Yeah.
Sucker. Yeah. Wow. Too bad for him. Too bad for him. Yeah, he must be like, oh man, like she's on AmberCast right now. I wish.
I mean,
can we say hi? We can say hi.
We can. But she ditched the guy. She's stuck with the game.
What's his name?
What's his name?
Are you okay to give out his name? Not like his full name. Like his...
I gave up already on him. I like another boy, and I was like, this might be some a drama series. Like, imagine like I invite him to the stream once and told him all of those things. Like, do you know the reason why you're here? And like, no, I mean, yeah, and to tell him all of those things, and this is like so dramatic. Oh my god, I can't think about this. No, I'm never gonna tell him about this. This is just me and you, and everybody knows about it, but no one knows who is this guy.
Yeah, well, too bad for him. We'll just call him Alex, because that's a very common name. And
yeah, it's good.
Well, yeah, Alex, I feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
You missed a huge opportunity. So that being said, welcome to AmberCast, Season 5, Episode 3, in which we discuss about broken hearts. Now, for everyone who follows AmberCast, you guys know that we're more about game development, but we're also kind of like a corporate messenger of Amber. And I say that in with pride. I have Amber tattooed on my shoulder.
You too.
Yeah. Oh my god, there's two of us. Mihai, I hope you're watching this, and I hope you're getting a tattoo. Mihai has because me and Mariana already have it. So as we usually talk about game development here, and we are going to talk about game development, but we're also right now in the middle of a campaign which is called Her Own Game, which is essentially a campaign that tries to bring a bit of light, to shed a bit of light on the fact that women in general are not that exposed in the game development industry and to the gaming industry in general, and that's a damn shame. This is why we have these three wonderful ladies, and now we know who they are. We also know that there's a power surge at Emma's location. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you, and I'm probably gonna ask Monica first. What is your outlook in the industry? You're a game developer. You're part of I wouldn't call it a male-dominated industry, right? It's not like overrun with patriarchy, but it is. If statistically there are more persons that identify with males in this industry rather than persons that identify.
For sure.
There you go. And I'm going to ask you, what's your outlook? Is that something that you feel in the everyday life? Is it making a difference?
I think it is. I think it's hard not to say it, especially since, we all kind of talked about how we grew up with games and we like games. And I think one of the biggest things that I think it's recently starting to change for the better. But up until very recent, I think that a lot of the media that surrounded game development, especially like what it's like to work in game, was more likely to feature guys speaking up, or like older guys that are in their 40s and have been making games for the past 20 years. And those people look nothing like me. And we probably don't share a lot of life experiences, or what it's like to be a woman, or what it's like to be on the young side working in the gaming industry. And it can sometimes make you feel a little bit like you're an imposter, kind of sort of trying to fit in a space where you are kind of asking yourselves, like, should I be here? Is this a place that's right for me?
Oh, I'm going to interrupt you there just a bit.
Yeah.
It's probably because they don't have tattoos.
Yeah, if they would get cool tattoos like me, we would probably feel closer. That's for sure.
There might be it. I don't think it's necessarily I don't think it's necessarily, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's necessarily. We were talking about this prior to going live. It's not necessarily a bias, but it's more of a like. There's more. There's more guys than there's more girls, right?
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like a lot of history, and it's in a sense, I can understand it why it's like that, because those guys have a lot of achievements and they've got a lot of knowledge to share. But on the other hand, I feel like it's also important to kind of get to see that the gaming industry is very diverse, or at least is trying to be. And there are a lot of stuff that are going on in the gaming industry besides just being male dominated, which I don't like to use that term because it kind of sounds oppressive in a sense, and that's not how I feel, right? Like, even if I do have more male colleagues than female ones, I don't think that once you actually get to work in the gaming industry, and at least for me at Amber, that has been my experience. Like, it's been really a really positive and inclusive one. Like, I've never really felt like it's an issue that I'm a girl. More than that, I felt like it's something cool that kind of adds a new perspective to like the way we tackle games and we develop them. So overall, I think it's a good outlook being a girl in the gaming industry once you sort of get over that initial hurdle of feeling a little bit out of place.
Yeah, and I guess it's not necessarily because you're a girl, but it's more like it's different, right? So you kind of feel like more guys, not so many women. But
yeah,
I guess it's changing. It's slowly but surely changing. Is that true?
Yeah,
it's like a game developer.
Can you ask that again? Sorry.
What does it look like for a game developer? Because we were discussing this earlier on. You are a game developer. Mari is in HR. She is doing talent acquisition, and she has another perspective. And then Bianca is a content creator. So there's three perspectives here, and I want to be sure that we all put on the goggles of this.
Yeah, like all the different hats, right?
Different hats, yes.
For a game developer, it's interesting in the sense that up until this point, I've definitely worked in development teams where we had just more people that were men working in that team, and sometimes I even had a couple of scenarios where for a bit of time I was the only woman working with 10 or 11 guys. And it can sometimes feel a bit weird in the sense that you don't really see a lot of people that are like you at the job, but most of the times I don't think it really mattered. Like, the people that I've worked with didn't really care that I was a girl, or I never really felt like the pressure to sort of and I think this is like a weird point that sometimes we see that there's a lot of like people speaking in the media about how if you want to work in the gaming industry, you have to be like this or like that, or you have to be one of the guys if you're a woman. And I don't really think that's true. Like, I like to wear makeup, I like to get my hair done, I like to talk about clothes with people at work sometimes. And I think I never felt like the pressure to kind of shed that aside and to be one of the guys, or to be like, yes, I'm very manly woman that likes to play video games. Like, I never had that. I always felt like I can just be the way I am and be accepted just like that in the gaming environment and in the development environment.
Sounds wonderful. What about?
It is.
I just want to say that every now and then I like to put on makeup as well.
That's great.
I knew it.
Mari, what's it like? What's the outlook for what's it like? What's the outlook for you, and then what's the outlook for head of talent acquisition for Amber?
Actually, I'm really happy that Monica had this experience and still has this experience, a positive one, because it's true. At least from some point, we kind of saw a trend in the market that most of our pool of candidates were mostly men's, actually. But for almost 2 years, I can say so, there is an improvement regarding the percentage between women and men as a candidate in the market. And actually, we tried, me and my team actually, we try as much as possible to promote the roles and the fact that there is a room for everyone in the industry, no matter the genre, the orientation or exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is a room for everyone, and we actually what is matters are the skills actually and the way that you can adapt to a specific industry or to a specific role. I'm guessing that this is more important, and we try as much as possible to promote this industry between all our communities actually. Yes. And we kind of saw an increase, at least in the past 2 years, we saw an increase regarding women in gaming, actually, yeah.
So more women. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah. You see this growing? Is this something?
Yes, actually, yes, and I can tell you that I also saw an evolution regarding the younger generation actually, and they start to see more what is about in this industry and what they need actually to make this step. And in the past few months, I met a lot of young women that actually are trying to become developers in this industry, and they are attracted by this job.
Is there a specific reason? Is it because these guys are Gen Z and it's the different perspective from millennials? Is it?
It may be, but also I'm guessing that our industry is more well known in the market right now, and we kind of make public what it takes to become a game developer, for example, and what you need actually to get in this industry. And come on, we're talking about games, Who doesn't want to work in this type of industry, actually?
I know a few people.
Well, I know a few of them as well.
We don't talk about those people.
Exactly. They don't know what they're missing, actually.
Amy, what about you?
Well,
content creator.
Definitely when I started to stream, women were like not as many as today, because all we knew about video games was like boys are playing video games. Women are interested to, just Monica said, clothes and makeup and hair and fluffy things and pink things, but it's not true. Gaming and playing video games and creating video games it isn't just for a gender. It's for everybody who is interested to be there. And being there for, I don't know, let's say 5 or 6 years,
wow.
I realized that a lot of girls actually started to stream and play my game. And do you know Pokimane? She's like the most popular female from Twitch, and she's doing an amazing job, and she's really pretty. And somehow she's we are watching on her, and we're trying to get that performance to be like her, but there is I know this is not this is not what I wanted to say. The thing is, it's better now. The male are seeing women in the best way possible in this moment. Like, it's better than it was in the past.
Yeah.
Because definitely we made some progress, and it's not that terrifying, just like before. And this is not the best case scenario. We have a lot of things to work on to be that. I don't know how to call it. In the way it's supposed to be.
But before we talk about the way it's supposed to be, let's get back to that streamer that you were mentioning. What's her name again?
Her name is Pokimane.
Pokimane. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. And Pokimane, if you're watching this, I apologize for not. You are probably not, because this is AmberCast. But it's definitely, what is she doing different? She's definitely not prettier than you girls. I cannot believe there's a pretty girl out there. Like, what is she doing different? Or is she just?
She started a few years ago by playing League of Legends, but she was like having 1,000 average viewers. But then Fortnite, the game Fortnite, was released, and she got really people started to know her on that game. The game was really popular, and a lot of women viewers were watching Fortnite category, and she ended up by being so popular there. And she is like right now having 2,000 average views, and she's a girl, and this is a lot. Like, she's super
that a
nice.
lot, or is that a lot for a girl? What?
No, it's a lot too. I don't know, let's say there is a lot of content creators on Twitch. I'm nervous.
To the club.
Thank you.
We're all
They're having, let's say, 50K average views. But you know that thing. Let me show you something. Every time when a woman start to stream, boys are gonna be, oh my god, she's a woman. Let's see if she's hot, if she's playing good. What does she have to offer?
What do you mean? Whenever I look at a girl, I ask myself if she's gonna start like this. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke, obviously. But is it like the stigma? Is it a stigma?
Yeah, exactly.
Is
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like something really rare. Every time when a girl appears, it's like, oh wow, I have never seen something like this before. But this is they're not hiding. They're actually trying to do something, and they're trying to stream. They're trying to play games, and they're good on this. And at the end, the thing is, male communities are more engaged to that viewer, and they're staying there no matter what, while the female communities are somehow I watch her, I think she's good, but I will go back to my brother. This is my brother, I'm gonna stay with my brother.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Why is that? Where does this difference of kind of like preference come from?
There's a lot of things like psychological things, why people are choosing to watch male instead of females, and also the other thing. And I'm not saying just like the boys who wants to, I don't know, no, this discussion is not good. I don't want to get into the sex workers. Let's say people, let's say this, and this is the only thing I want to say. Do you know let's say a girl has success, and a lot of girls and boys are gonna say that she's showing boobs, this is why she's successful, and the only viewers that are watching her are because they want to see her, because she's giving nothing. This is not true. This is her way to be, and this is her, and she's showing her just in the way it is. And yeah, you may judge her just because, I don't know, because she is what it is. This is fake convin. I don't know this word. Let me translate it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you go right ahead because I really want to see where this is leading us. And I really, Mari, do you think you can put, because you also have a psychologist, Mari is also a psychologist. Do you want to put your other hat on and discuss where this is coming from, kind of like just from an attraction perspective, or like?
Well, kind of. It somehow comes from our childhood and how our parents are teaching us to be, with blue and pink. If you are a girl, you're going to wear pink, and if you are a boy, you're going to wear blue the whole life. And of course, you as a woman, you have to have a specific type of job, that it's more of office job, or where you can wear nice clothes as dresses or skirts or so on. And that's why in the moment that I'm guessing, this is a guessing, when a specific woman is actually hot or she has some physical tattoos appears on this type of activity, of course, that the first thing that the public will see will be the body and the way that she looks. And afterwards, it comes that reaction, oh my God, she can also talk, or she can also play that game, or oh my God, actually, she's really cool at that, And then comes that feeling that, well, perhaps she's better than me, and I don't want that, That also a side of the story as well.
Yep.
Is that like a general behavioral pattern that you're describing?
Kinda, and I'm guessing that it's not only in gaming. I'm guessing that it's in all industries where we don't have that much history regarding women's in that field. Yeah.
It's like we don't know what to do with women.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is always a problem. Yes.
This is always a problem. We definitely need more women. But I'm gonna, hey, Bianca, I'm gonna challenge you there for a bit. Are you ready to be challenged?
Yeah.
Do you how do you measure if, because you referred to this as a general behavior, and I want to know how you measure that. I'm sure there's people out there who work like, who kind of like think like this. I'm sure there's innuendos, and I'm sure there's all, but is that a general thing, or is that like a experience that you've seen? Is like is it a nuance, or is it like a tone? And how do you measure that?
Well,
this is where the challenge comes. How do you measure that?
Thank you. Well, let me think about it. This is a nice question.
Welcome to AmberCast.
Yeah. All the hate is coming from the new people almost all the time. It's just coming and, oh my God, you're terrifying, you're horrible. Why are you doing this? And why aren't you in the kitchen?
Wow.
And this is, I was thinking about it, like, where is this coming from? And here in Romania, who's saying this?
Did someone say that to you? Was it on stream?
So many times.
Wow.
Last year I was competing on a League of Legends contest, and all the chat was like so toxic, and everybody were like, why aren't they in the kitchen? Go make a sandwich, or cum se spune la ragaz?
Like ovens,
stove. Why is the stove speaking? Those were the jokes. And imagine like people telling you all those things over and over and over again. You're gonna feel bad about yourself because you obviously.
I could interrupt you there just a bit, and I would argue that the League of Legends community is extremely toxic by nature.
It is, yeah.
I was part of that community at some point, and I was those toxic persons. And it's the same for like if you look at World of Tanks, it's like the same. It's the same story. At some point they turned off general chat in World of Tanks. I think it was the same for League of Legends. Just because there were people in there. I wouldn't give names, but they were just, when the match started, they were just write in all caps, "Here I come, losers," I would
Yep.
do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that I don't know if that is something that you can generalize. I mean, if
No.
there's an asshole in a community, albeit not the League of Legends community, because most of them are very toxic. Is that it's and this is what I want to make sure that we discuss. Is it something that's local? Is it something that's specific to a community? Is it something that's specific to the gaming community? Is it something specific that is to the game development community? This is what I'm curious, and I want to be sure that we nuance that.
This is not happening that often, but once you're having a bigger engagement, you're gonna get more hate, because once you're getting bigger, you're getting more haters.
Sure.
But if you're a decent streamer and you just playing League of Legends, or I'm not talking, let's say you're not gonna get as so much hate as someone who's, let's say, making a movie stream, for example, because people I don't know. Some of the viewers which are hating you are feeling insecure about themselves, and this is why they're doing this.
Obviously, yeah.
And yeah, I wanted to say a thing, just a thing. I was like thinking about where is this um how is it called? I let me find the word in Romanian first. Nu rasism, asta când fac discriminare între sexe.
It's called gender bias.
Okay. Here in Romania, this might come from having a mother who is doing everything and is listening to the dad. That is telling you should do this, you should listen to my words because you're a female, and this is how a female is supposed to be. And yeah, I'm just sitting here on the sofa and watching your mother. And the kid is watching the parents, and they're having this view about women, which is definitely a wrong perspective, because even their mothers and they're doing the house jobs, they can also have a career, they also have passions, they can also have an opinion about things. And if they're seeing me, which I'm doing what I want, and I'm actually having an opinion for the people, they're like, oh my god, you're not like my mother, you should stay just like my mother was because of my dad. And because here in Romania this is how things works, unfortunately. Nu știu cum spune când sunt supuși. Femeie supusă.
Like obedient, I guess.
Yeah, obedient, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And it's really good because we're having this kind of talk. Even we're having gaming marathons, and we're also talking about how females are treated by communities on the media, and it's really good because we're having this. We need to keep doing it. We need to be heard by people, like everywhere, by parents, by grandparents, by aunts, by cousins, by everybody. Everybody should have an answer mark about this subject.
It sounds to me like what you're describing is a cultural and psychological frame, but it's mostly a cultural frame. And I think that culture and the way we shape culture and the way we interact with culture has really important it has a lot of weight, right? Because it kind of goes from generation to generation. It influences our personal relationships, etc. So I would like to know, however, how do you is it a spread out culture? I know we have the jokes in Romania, right? Like there's some jokes about women being in the kitchen, and I think there's sexism all over the world. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But how do you measure the impact that at a cultural level? Because you were mentioning earlier on that that's bad, and I agree with you, that's bad. But how can you tell if it's widespread? How widespread is it right now? And let's also talk a bit about how we change that, because I think this is the core.
I think it's spread in the way. Let me think about it. 1 second, please.
Well, while you think about it, I want to open it. I want to open this discussion to Mari and Monica as well, and ask them if they see similar, if they have similar experiences, and if they have similar outlooks.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And even to build up on what Amy said, like I think there's also like an issue of how people are used to talk about women and men differently, right? Like we see a man that's successful or a streamer that's successful, and we talk about how good he's at the game, how funny he is, how cool it is that he's, I don't know, playing League of Legends, or like how good he knows to play some champions. And then the language changes when we talk about females that are streaming, about how hot she is, or she plays good despite being a woman, like having sort of like, like having boobs kind of impairs you from holding the controller in your hand. And I think, yeah, I think it's an advantage, right? But like and I think that sort of language is definitely something that's cultural, right? It's definitely something that has to do with how people are learned to assign values to who you are as a woman and who you are as a man, and what makes you successful as either. And I'm happy that those things are challenged, and I think that's where things have to be challenged, right? Because if we keep sort of measuring men by how successful they are at their job, and we keep measuring women by how good they look while doing their job, I don't think we'll ever sort of get over those sort of gender biases, right?
Yeah, for sure. But Monica, I would invite you to color that with maybe some examples, just so that people don't think that it's a outlet of opinions, right? That we're doing here. It's definitely not, and you probably have some examples.
Yeah, definitely. Like you can look even at examples about Pokimane, because we were talking about her and how a lot of the time she's the center of scandals that have nothing to do with her gaming or with what she plays or with what she says, but only scandals about how she looks. You of course have a lot of examples from day to day, right? When people ask you, instead of asking me how good am I at my job or if I'm successful at my job, they ask me about marriage and kids. And I think we all kind of get that, right? If you're a woman, you are bound to be asked about marriage and kids first, instead of being asked about how good you're at your job.
Well, yes. I mean, I agree with the first one, but I think the other one is a generalization. It's a bit of a generalization when it comes to women, because there's so many times I had to tell my mother and my father that, you know what, I'm not getting married or having kids this year.
Yeah, I think for guys it comes with age, whereas for women it's just like the default, like because the
default setting
it's the default setting for sure. Yeah. And even
I hope my sister's watching, and I'm gonna be like, good luck.
Yeah, she's gonna need the luck. But even if we look at stuff like school, right, like high school and Romanian education, where you are taught that like technical universities are for boys, where there are like widespread jokes about how the prettiest girls in the technical universities are the pretty boys instead of the girls.
Let me stop you there. Who says that? Who says that technical universities are for boys? Or are we talking about a misconception?
I think we're definitely talking about a misconception and what people sort of assign as an appropriate job to have if you're a woman, or what you can do and cannot do if you're a woman. And from my experience, at least, or what I've seen, especially since I have a younger sister who's in high school right now, so I get to kind of see her experience as well. It's definitely mostly like the older generations, like teachers usually that are very stuck up in the way they've been raised. It's usually older people that usually want to give you their opinion, even though it's unasked for. And thankfully, I think that's kind of changing. Like I see it with the younger generations, where it's not looked upon to play games. Like it's very normal for girls and for guys to play games together or to talk about gaming, or gaming is becoming much more part of like the cultural norm than it was before. And I think that shows and impacts the way women are seen as well, because it's not really just a hobby for boys anymore. It's a hobby that people have, generally speaking. But I think that the older you go and the higher up you go down the generation ladder, the more you kind of get to see those cultural biases about gender.
That's definitely true, and we've seen. I was looking at some numbers across the years about gamers, and we're now looking like the average gamer age right now is, I think, 35.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, right. Which means, and if you consider all the kids that are playing, that means if it's the average is 35, then that means that there's some really old people that are playing, right? Because it has to balance out. So that's good news. And then the other good news is it's like very close in terms of genders. It's still like 52% male, but
yeah, that's true. And actually, a funny thing also about like statistics like this.
It used to be something like 20% female.
Yeah, exactly. And they are even a bit skewed because a lot of the time you'll have girls that do play games, or older women, for example, that have beat every level in Candy Crush, right? But they wouldn't call themselves gamers, or they wouldn't say they're gaming, because gaming is seen like something that women just don't do. So even if I play, I would rather just not say or be outspoken about it. So
yeah. Hey, all you people out there that have played the game at least once. If you're playing Candy Crush, you're a gamer.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, just so you know. And ladies, if you're playing Candy Crush, you're a lady gamer, which is like even cool.
But why? I mean, men are not allowed to play Candy Crush, or what?
No, they are, of course. And they are also gamers, even if they only play Candy Crush, right? We still consider them players.
To me, it sounds like we're dealing with a lot of cultural, like what I'm hearing.
Stereotypes, actually.
Stereotypes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it the same? Is it the same? You're seeing this, and I guess is this influencing talent acquisition as well?
Yes, kind of, yes, because like the girls also mentioned before, it's something related to the culture and the way that we are raised in that country or specific culture. But the good thing is that the fact that right now we see a trend where we are more open, actually, regarding our mentality, regarding every subject in the world, actually. But yes, at some point, I was also a victim of this type of thinking about the women, or a blonde, especially a blonde, in any industry that I've worked until now. It was a stereotype regarding this. And at the end of the day, it's really fulfilling when you can show them that actually they are wrong about you, and you are talented and you have the right skills that you need for that job.
I made some research right now, and I think this discussion is coming far away ago, just like the sexism from, let's say, women got the right to vote in 2029. I just got this from Google right now here in Romania. Mm-hmm. And imagine these waves of sexism and the value of a female and what a female is supposed to do is coming from there. And I think those things and those situations that we are talking right now are actually just examples of what is supposed to be on the past. So everything is coming from, that moment when women could not be doctors, could not wear pants, could not have an opinion. Sorry. When we were just for making kids, keep the house clean. And the male is going on the forest, and he is so strong, and he's having a huge bag, and he's an animal, and the girls should have girls and women should have soft hands, and it is also a stereotype. Yeah, it is, and it's coming from there.
But the good thing is that right now the things are changing actually. So that's the good thing, that we
is.
are more aware of this, what's happening, and we try at least to change. At least for us and for the next generation, actually. Yeah.
How do we change this?
One thing that comes to my mind right now is by asking and inform ourselves about a specific topic, because the information is pretty crucial on this, and actually with the openness in mind that okay, there is room for everyone. There is room for everyone and for ourselves as well.
Is there something that companies can do? Is there something that the state can do? Who do we phone? Who do we like? I'll make a phone call.
One phone call.
Who should we put? Or like who am I sending the email to?
I'm guessing that it's a team effort actually, and a teamwork between several stakeholders actually. It's not just one man job.
Well,
starting with the families, then with school and so on.
How do we actually? Even so, it's like let's get deeper into that, because I think that any idea helps. Ami was mentioning earlier on that we need to talk about this, which I think, yes, we definitely need to talk about this. But what are we saying? Apart from things are not okay. Apart from saying, apart from confronting the problem, what else do we do? And I'm sure that each and every one of you, like, Amy, what is it that you are doing to change this? We're definitely talking about this, but what else can we do, and what else should we do about this?
I mean, even talking, I think even talking is important, or just like, for me at least, like the most important part is like normalizing it, like normalizing the fact that women play, normalizing the fact that women who work in the gaming industry exist, normalizing the fact that women who stream and are good at streaming, like they exist and they do it and it's fun for them. Normalizing the idea that women don't play games for guys or for attention, they play it for themselves, which I think it's again a huge stereotype, right? That girls that play, they do it for attention. It's not true. Like, we play because we are just people that want to enjoy a hobby that we like. And again, like, I think the more that you get to see that through streaming and through YouTube and through social media, and if it comes back to like the gaming industry and developing games, like if you get to see that inside your own company, because you have like maybe role models that are women that are working there, and you see that it's not just normal, it's cool to be a woman that works in the gaming industry, and people are accepting and people want to work with you, not because you are a woman, not because of like various stereotypes, but because of the work that you want to do, because you like games or you like doing work. For me, it's just a combination of being able to see more of that and making it less sort of abnormal when we see women in gaming, right? Like, I just hope that in 10 years we won't be having podcasts like this, right, where we need to highlight women, because it would be cool that it would be just like normal, and people would be like, yeah, of course, women play and women are in gaming. What are you talking about? There's nothing weird about that. Yeah.
I think I hope that at some point we talk about just people in gaming, and there's no
exactly
male, female in gaming. Ami, how do you think we fix this? What and more specifically, what do you do to fix it? Obviously, you're here talking about it, but what else can we do?
Well, because I'm a content creator and people can see me on TikTok being live, on YouTube being live, on Twitch being live, and sometimes when those things are actually happening, when someone is coming to me and is rude and he's disrespectful, I'm asking him, and it's really important, the approach, because if you're attacking him, you're gonna trash talk and like, oh, you deserve to, and like, why are you asking me this? Why do you think about women in this way? What happened to you? Like, what is your opinion? And their opinion, it's not an opinion, just an automatism, it's called. It's something that is ruling in their mind, that if you're doing this, you're stupid, you're bad, you're, I don't know, you shouldn't be respected by others. And I'm trying to ask them, and obviously they're not really giving me an answer, but I know they're saying that. And when this is happening, I'm having this speech, and this is coming from our parents and our friends, and this is the way they are seeing women, and you're doing the same thing. But this is not your personal opinion, because your experience, what happened to you? It happened nothing to you to say me this. And yeah, somehow I'm trying to have a speech in that moment. And I know there are some trollers there too, which are not even they didn't wrote a message to the chat, but it's also good for them to ask themselves this question too, because they're not having the answer, because there is no answer. This is just a bad point of view. They're starting in a bad way.
Yeah, I agree. It's a bad habit, right? It's like smoking. It's like, if you think smoking is good for you and you enjoy smoking because you think it's good for you, then you're on the wrong side of things. And if you think it's if you think that it's okay to say something, I think not even if they're a girl or a boy, not even if they're a female or a male, if you think that it's okay to just be an asshole, then you're on the wrong side of things. It sounds to me like what we're looking for. It sounds to me like what we're saying is we definitely need to talk to the teachers. We definitely need to talk to the parents. And I think that the way things are going to change is, number one, there's just creating as much visibility to the gaming industry as possible in schools, for teachers, for parents, and just going over to them and saying, you know what, if you're a girl, you don't necessarily need to be an architect. You can also be a game designer, or even more like the cool version of game design, a UX designer. Right? Or you can be an awesome content creator, or you can recruit 500 people in 1 year, which is, I don't know if is that the number. No, it's not 500.
Yes, actually more than that.
More than
that. Yes.
Yeah. So you don't. There's some really amazing things that you can do as a woman, as a girl. You're going to grow up and you're going to be a woman, and you can work in the gaming industry. And guess what? There's no there's actually money in games. It's a lot of money in games, and you're going to be really well paid, and you're going to do amazing things, and you're going to set records for hirings, and you're going to set records for interviews, and you're going to set records for numbers of views, and you're going to set records with top 50 games.
And it's fun also, actually. It's fun, and also it helps you to develop yourself, actually.
Let's talk a bit about that. Let's talk a bit about the development part. I'm curious about that. What's your perspective on that?
I mean, you can grow in a lot of, you can upskill a lot of personal things. I mean, you can switch from, I don't know, quality assurance role, and you can go to design, for example. Or you can start as, I don't know, an artist, and in a few years or perhaps months, depending on your learning curve, you can become a project manager or an art director, or you have this diversity when it comes to the roles that you can have inside a gaming company, actually. And in this way, actually, you can see the whole process, to be honest.
What I usually tell people when I talk about the gaming industry is the fact that the gaming and the game development industries is the fact that they're very good for the soul. And that's because you get to interact with really different people, and that builds you up in a certain way. I've been in the industry for I don't know. I've been doing this since I was 20, so I guess 17 years. Oh boy. Okay. and in that time, I got to work with engineers, and I got to work with designers, and I got to work with producers, and I got to work with all sound guys and musicians and writers. And what I've learned is that each and every person, depending on what their discipline is, has a slightly different view of life. You can call it professional bias. You can call it just well, you can call it professional bias, or you can just say that they're different in that way. But interacting with them and kind of working in a team where you have to work together and you have to find a way in which you communicate with them and kind of get things done, that really changed me, and that made me understand that there's more ways of viewing the world than just my own perception. And this is why I say that it's good for the soul, right? And I think it's very similar to what Bianca is doing, because you get to interact with people from all over the world. You get to interact with them on the internet. You instantly get to interact with them. And more importantly, you have a very, very diverse. It's time to say
we
yes.
kind of lost you.
Yeah, for a second. You're good now.
Oh, I thought you're frozen.
We can run it without you. Very good.
Is it my turn to say about what games can teach you and what can you got?
Let's talk a bit about that. What can games?
So this is the discussion that we are talking right now.
This is the discussion we're talking right
I'm
now,
not
yeah.
missing up. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, spending time and investing in yourself to learn something new, it's also something. It's also something you should appreciate for someone who's doing this. Like when I started to play video games, I improved my English. Absolutely, it's not the best English, but it's better than. It's better. It can. I don't know how to say it. Improve your reflex.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can we skip this part, please?
I cannot something that if you want, Amy, I can help you on that. But actually, it helps you to find actually your teamwork skills, on your logical thinking, perhaps, or I don't know, how to approach a specific type of level or a specific genre, and how to think about that also. And to be honest, also that competition level that we have inside ourselves, because we really enjoy that as well. Let's be honest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
you.
I think even from like a career perspective, like I think Mari said a lot of things that even apply to me as well in my personal experience with working in the gaming industry. And that's kind of where the architecture joke comes from, because I did 5 years of architecture. And when you want to be an architect, everyone that wants to be an architect, they go to architecture school, you have the same courses, you do the same work, and everyone that you end up working with comes from the same background because they did architecture school, right? But when you're working in the game design industry, or just like game industry overall, like there's no clear background that you have to have, and you end up having people that did philosophy in school, or they did a technical university, or no university at all, or they did psychology, for example. And that's really cool, because you get to, as you said, you get to really interact with a lot of different people, which is much more exciting than just everyone doing the same school and then ending up working in the same spot and talking about the same old teachers that you have in university in like the second year or whatnot. And that's great, because I think for me, it kind of made me change my outlook on what I want to do inside the gaming industry, because I actually initially wanted to be an artist. I liked to draw, and I still do that as a hobby. And at that point in time, for me, the idea that I could draw was the only way I could think about being in the gaming industry. But then that kind of changed when I found UX and got a job in Amber as a UX designer. And even then, that kind of changed when I'm not a UX designer anymore and I'm a game designer now, because working in the industry and kind of interacting with all those people and all those professions kind of made me realize that there are even more exciting things that I would like to do and like to do.
Yeah, it kind of opens up perspectives, right?
Yeah.
This is what we're struggling with right here, and I think that this is what we're struggling specifically when it comes to what are the jobs that are good for women. Like it's lack of perspective thereof. I think you made a good point, Monica, about the fact that being in the industry kind of opens up perspective. I remember I joined this industry 17 years ago as a QA engineer. Well, QA tester, actually, not even an engineer. And that's because my friend Eugen had joined, I think, 8 months before me, but I literally had no clue about what game development was. I did like playing games. I had back then I was toying around with the Unreal editor. Unreal Tournament had just come out, so well, I think it had been around for a while, but I had just discovered it. And it was interesting in some regards, but I knew there was an industry out there. I knew that there was people making games. I had no clue how to access that industry. And then Eugen joins. He goes to Ubisoft. He applies for a job, and I remember we were playing Magic the Gathering. Yes, it was. So we did this every weekend. We'd gather at my friend Claudia's house, and there'd be 6 of us playing Magic the Gathering. And we did this for the whole of the night. We'd get drinks, we'd smoke, and we would play Magic the Gathering for the whole night. And that so we'd start on a Sunday and finish kind of like on a Saturday night / Monday morning. So Eugen comes over and says, "You know what? I cannot stay too late because I have an interview." And we're like, "Oh my God, you're getting a job! It's gonna be amazing because you're gonna get to buy your own drinks. We no longer have to buy drinks.
You're gonna have money for Magic the Gathering finally."
Yes. So that's amazing. What job are you getting? And he's like, "I'm going to be a QA tester." I'm like, "What do you mean a QA tester?" And he's like, "Well, I'm going to play games and I'm going to
for money."
money. Or it's kind of like a joke. It's a running joke. Like, do you want to play games for money? So yeah, so he goes, he interviews for a job. Obviously, he gets the interview because he was very skilled in English and he was literally playing every game that was coming out. And so I meet him the next weekend, and we're like, "What's it like? When are you starting?" He's like, "I'm starting in 2 weeks from now." And he's telling us these stories about broadband internet and high-tech PCs, and then a whole floor of people just playing games. We're like, I need to try this. I need to do this. And it was the reason why I usually tell this story is because it was by mistake that I found about the game industry. So it's not only that women don't know about the game development industry and the gaming industry, but people in general don't know about the gaming industry. And if you kind of like put the nurse archetype on top of that, and you put the archetype, what do you want to grow up little? What do you want to do when you grow up little? Well, you should be an architect, right? So if you layer that on top, you're never going to find out about how cool it is to be in this industry. But I think that's changing. I think that's changing, and I think it's good that that's changing. I think that it's discussions like these that are changing things. I think that it's people like you, talented people like you. I will no longer. I refuse to use the word women. I would just going to go ahead and say talented people like you. Just go out there and become the role models that Monica was describing, right? Because role models are important. So that being said, there's a few comments from the chat that I want to take because these are interesting. And here's one that's really good. And I'm going to open this to any of you, so anyone can take this. In your opinion, do you think that the game industry is male dominated because guys are much more interested in video games than girls are, statistically speaking? Question for anyone who wants to answer.
I mean, it's a really complex answer, right? Like, because I think that it's, and we are of course going back to like the whole cultural thing, right? But even growing up, like, and I know Mari has a really nice story about how she grew up in a house of gamers, and I really love when she tells it. But for a lot of other girls, like playing games was not really a social activity growing up for girls. Like guys would have birthdays and they would all huddle up in the bedroom and play, I don't know, Age of Empires on the PC, and that would be like their social hangout. Whereas girls wouldn't really do that, or it wasn't as widespread to do that in a group of girls, for example, or at least not my not my sort of experience. And I think growing up, like because it's not normalized, right? It's not normal to play video games. You don't see it a lot. You don't think about it a lot. It's, even if you might end up liking it or you might end up being interested in it, it just passes by you because you never had contact with that world, right? And that kind of ends up translating into people also not applying to jobs in the gaming industry because, again, like if you don't have contact with that world or you think it's not for you because it seems like such a closed off world where we don't really know what happens and how the games are made, and the games seem to be made by who knows who. And it seems like such a place where like it's hard to get a job, or it's kind of a lot of bunch of stereotypes one top of another, like you said. Like again, like the opportunity just ends up passing by you. So in short, I don't think that women are less interested in games, right? Like even the statistics show us that the demographics are kind of half at the moment, right? Like women are playing video games and women are interested in video games. But when you don't know about the opportunities or you don't know about this world existing, it's kind of hard to blame those women for not applying when they don't know about the jobs or they don't know that the gaming industry is a good fit for them in the first place.
Actually, now I'm happy. Sorry, Gabi, I'm happy right now that actually I had the context for this. And actually, when I used to sleep at my childhood friend Anna, actually we were used to play worms. If you remember worms.
Oh yeah.
We were stayed up until late, and actually we played worms on this at that point together.
Yeah. I was actually gonna ask. I wanted Maria, I wanted you to put your psychologist hat on again and ask you if there's a psychological reason for that. And as I was about to ask that, and I will tell a story a bit. I will just rant a bit before I let you answer. I realized that it does have something to do with what the gaming industry and what the game development, who was making games and like kind of what the tools are. And the reason why I'm saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, whenever we start developing a game, we take a lot of time. Monica, you're also aware of this because you've been making so many pitches and you're making so many concepts. One of the first things is we look at the audience.
For sure.
We research this and we kind of say, well, if we're going to tackle this, then it's kind of like 50% or like 60% female oriented or etc. But I realized that this is kind of a market research in general is a very new tool to the game development industry and in general to the industry. I mean, we've only had so much data for like the past 10 years. And a lot of the games that were being put out, that were being made 20 years ago, were more intuition based. They were like, oh, I just want to make this game. Like I was thinking about Worms, right? And I was thinking about the guys at Team 17. Those guys have been around for 30 years. There was no marketing research back when they started making the first Worms. there was no marketing research as strong being used in the industry when Blizzard was making the first Warcraft. So if I would imagine that if you have a team of 20 guys making one game, it's probably gonna be a bit male skewed just because it's 20 males making that game, right? And I think that this is probably one of the things that have changed the industry, the fact that we started using tools as market research, because there's a very strong capitalist incentive behind making games for a wider audience, which is you get more sales. So I think that's one answer. But I'm curious, Mari, does your intuition or does your experience tell you anything different than that?
No, I agree with you on this, because if we remember at the beginning, we only had just a few games actually, and they weren't specific to a type of category of people actually. But right now we have games for kids, games for, I don't know, older people, and so on. Right now we have a specific category because of this research, because the gaming companies actually wanted to have a better perspective actually on what they want to do with that game and the public that they want to target actually. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you that, okay, we know that this industry started with just a few bunch of people actually, and without taking into consideration those aspects regarding, I don't know, what type of the game that we want to make, or for whom we want to make that game. But now companies are looking at that, and there is an improvement, and I'm pretty sure that in the future will be even more. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree on that actually. Mm-hmm,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And Amy, are you seeing this in content creation as well? Are you seeing more content being created specifically for both male and female audience? Do you see this, like the funnel changing?
Well, it is. One thing I want to mention, did you notice that in so many games, men are like having armors and hats and so many things on, and women are almost naked, and they're like so strong, but they're naked. This is a thing you should be considering on the previous games. Why are we
There's
naked?
A name for that. I'm going to interrupt you for just a bit, because there's a name for that. It's called battle bikini. I'm kidding. Yeah, but yes, good point. Yeah, let's talk a bit about that. Where does it come from? How is that?
I want to mention another thing, like short. Just like Mariana said on the beginning of the podcast, she said something like this: blue are for boys and pink is for the girls. You know, when all these things with game video started in the beginning of the 90s, we started to have the first PCs in Romania, and let's say at the beginning of the 2000, okay? So there is few games, just like Pac-Man, or I don't know, that started to appear. The point is, I was thinking my entire life, and everybody saw that. So the thing, that just like, this is for the boys. We should play with dolls. We should play with dolls. We should, use that plastic lipstick put on the like makeup, because we are girls, and the boys are playing with cars and they're playing on PC. And this is definitely not happening now, because there's target on the video games, and this is amazing and this is good. But in this point, so many boys started to play earlier video games, because video games supposed to be for them. And this might be an advantage for them, because they started somehow sooner. Mm-hmm. And
but why do you
like
think
the normality for them? What?
Yeah, for sure. But why do you think is that? Why was there more games for boys? Why did boys start playing earlier?
I don't know, because they wasn't looking that pretty, let's say. I mean, they were looking pretty, but not pretty enough for the girls.
Right. So
I don't know.
Okay. So they basically what? But let me see if I understood this correctly. Is it because they didn't have girlfriends?
I
That's a big-
don't think so. That
I think was also because watching on the TV and on laptop or
Mhm.
this is the technology and boys are with the trying to cum spune șurub. Boys are into those
Screw.
things that
Yeah, screws
um,
and nuts and bolts. Yeah.
do you got me? They're more interested of
Yeah.
those things, technically things, and like PCs on this time. I was like, oh, this is a monster. I can't understand this.
Mhm.
Cum spune calculator în engleză? PC. It's called
PC,
PC.
yeah.
I think this is also a thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I understand where you're coming from. I think where you're coming from is there's been a lot of male or oriented marketing happening, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s, where PCs specifically were being marketed as tools. There's a very strong perception that PCs are tools. There's actually a joke that I make that we've been using tools and we've been using PCs for the last 50 years, and we've been using tools for the last, I think, I don't know, maybe 800 years, 8,000 years, but we've been toying with our hands for God knows how many millennia. But yes, PCs and tools are specifically a kind of like male marketed items. But I think that's changing, right? This is what we're discussing. Just because we want to reach a broader audience, and as an industry, we want to make more money. We definitely want to get a more diverse audience in, and we definitely want girls in, and we definitely want boys dating girls and playing League of Legends. But yeah, I think going back to the initial question, which was, are games more male dominated? I think that's Cosmin. I hope we've answered your question. I think that's the reason. Initially, games were being built by men, and there was no tools to understand the audience. And well, if you get men making games, they're probably going to build games for men, and go figure, there's going to be more men playing games. But I'm sure that's going to be changing. That's going to be changing, and it's already changing soon. There's Monica. Do you play Animal Crossing?
I do. I have like about 500 hours in Animal Crossing.
Wow, look at that, because there's a comment in here that says Animal Crossing is the social simulation amongst other games demonstrated the strong impact that women can have on a game. And I was hoping that maybe you can comment that both as a player and as a game designer. What do those
Yeah. Sure. So even just like to tie it with your point about like how there is a strong financial incentive for companies to develop for women, there are a lot of studies that actually show that women monetize more than men do inside of games. So there's a big incentive even for stuff like free-to-play games to cater to women, because a lot of the studies have shown that women are more likely to monetize if they like a game than men are. So even starting with that in head, like for the people that don't know Animal Crossing is like a huge franchise. It's been around for probably longer than I've been around. But like their last installment on the Switch has been a huge hit, because Animal Crossing is a game that's really, really all about like social interaction. It's a huge sandbox where you can design your island, you can design clothes, you can take care of pets, you can plant flowers, you can do all sorts of cute stuff. And I think it's definitely shows that it is targeted towards not necessarily just women, but I think it's got a marketing that caters to like families. And it's very family friendly. It's a game that in their marketing, they are marketing it as your 5-year-old boy can play this, but your 65-year-old grandma can also play this and enjoy it. And I also think that because of the way the game is constructed, like there's no competitiveness inside the game. There are no sort of drivers that are about like, let's compete with each other, or leaderboards, or sort of a lot of like I would say features that usually drive toxicity up a little bit, because when there's competition, there usually is associated with like a lot of toxic behavior from a small audience, but usually that small audience tends to be most vocal. But because games like Animal Crossing lack that, and instead they kind of replace it only with like cooperative gameplay, I think that again kind of shows in the sort of the audience and the community built around the game. Because by the longest time that I've played the game, I've also been in Discords about Animal Crossing and on Reddit. And it's really cool to see how, because the game is designed with cooperation and friendship literally in mind, those communities that form around the game tend to be much more inclusive. They tend to be nicer. You have people kind of saying that they want to give you stuff for free in the game just because you started out and you're a new player. And you don't really see like that the same level of toxicity that you see in games like League of Legends, for example, or Dota, which are very hyper competitive and much more male dominated than stuff like Animal Crossing.
Okay. And would you say just from a design perspective, would you say that competitivity is more of a male trait than a female trait?
It's I would say that like in the industry there are a lot of like studies and research being done by a lot of like data aggregators, because we are coming back to the data. And when looking at stuff like motivational models and why do people play, generally speaking, yeah, like competitiveness or the drive to compete is associated much more with young males. Like there are a lot of interesting charts where you can see how competitiveness kind of goes down with age. So the older you are, the less likely you are to be super into the game for the competitiveness side. And again, like if you are a female, you are less likely to have that as like your core motivation. Like women are usually like, and of course these are like generalization, if everyone is different, but generally speaking, like if were to look only at the data, women are much more interested in stuff like self-expression in games, because that's like a huge core motivator, like who am I in the game and how do I get to represent myself. And that kind of again like drives back to like the battle bikini and the jiggle physics and all that stuff. That's definitely not necessarily how most women want to express themselves inside games. So I think that games that understand that and developers that understand that and manage to offer, they offer the battle bikini, but they also have options for women that don't wanna cosplay as that, and they I don't know, wanna wear a full suit of armor or wanna be a powerful warrior instead of just like something pretty on the screen. I think they do much better with female audience and even monetize better because of that.
Sure. And I think there's a good point to make that not all games are made for wide audiences, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So there's a comment in chat. Hey Sabrina, saying talking about the battle bikini, and I promise you, I will wear a battle bikini at some point. if you give that to males, and I'll buy that game.
Yeah, that's.
Then we'll put it into a game, but let's talk about it.
I mean, there are actually games which I think that, and again, this is a broader discussion about like sexualization in games of like women character, and I think it's especially interesting like from a developer perspective, because I think there are games that do it so well and tastefully, and there are games that are obviously just pandering to like the male gaze and just pandering to get those cash out for the anime waifus and for people to monetize that. And I really think that both as a game developer and as a woman, I think that when it's tastefully done, I think it can be fun. And I think that women can have fun with like dressing up in battle bikinis. But I think there's like a thin line between those two. And it's sometimes hard, to nail it.
It is, and it's not only about being obviously using sex to sell your product is bad. Don't do that. Number one. But then number two, it's like it's also distasteful. Like apart from you're gonna make a lot of women uncomfortable. It's also like you're a jerk. Don't do that. right? Or if you're going to do that, then just state it out loud and say, this is my target. I do this type of games, right? It's like no problem. There's so many. If we're to look at if we were to look at the movie industry, which has been around for a longer time, like there's a genre. There's a like erotic movies. There's a genre.
For sure, yeah.
This is what we're doing. This is the part of the industry. This is what we're doing. We understand all the moral consequences and we understand all the implications, and it's regulated and etc. And it kind of goes to the fact that the gaming industry is new and not that regulated at this point, and there's like things that you can get away which you shouldn't get away with.
Yeah, but like thankfully I think like the even like my generation and even the younger generations are usually very or tend to be much more outspoken about stuff like this than maybe gamers were like 20 years ago, right? Like because I think right now that we see very like huge hit games like Hades, for example, which has very, very tasteful sexualization, right? Like all the men are sexy and all the women are sexy because they are Greek gods and it makes sense and it's fun. And sex is not necessarily there to sell, but it's there because it's fun and it makes sense and you can have fun with it. But I also think there are bad examples, and generally speaking, like I've seen a lot of discussions on women-centered like Discords and Reddits about stuff like Lost Ark, which is a game that's very popular right now, but it has a lot of issues with the battle bikinis and the fact that all the women look so sexual, whereas all the men are covered up in like 5 layers of armor. And I think there is a lot of discussions of like women just choosing not to support these games with their money, and I think that's gonna show in time even much more, right? Like players kind of vote with their wallets, and women who are a big demographic, if they are gonna stop supporting games like this, like hopefully they will die down or sort of reconsider their choices.
I think that's the beauty of the free market.
Yeah.
I think that this is why we should be defending the free market and democracy. Because you make a good point. You can vote with your wallet, and now that the industry and now that the market is so big and it's female inclusive, when all the for lack of a better word, female money goes away, it's going to be a problem. And
yeah.
I think like this is something that we should talk about more, which is consumers have a lot of power. Right, you can go ahead and just boycott something. Just don't buy it. Don't buy it. And yes, talk about it. Say that thing is outrageous. Don't expect it to change because, I mean, it's a free world. That we've got freedom of speech and whatnot. But someone will hear you and they will look at how much money they're making and they might think twice before. I feel like the battle bikini joke is just.
Oh, it's just great, yeah, and the jiggle physics is even better. Yeah.
I enjoy jiggle physics.
Jiggle physics can be fun, like I'm not gonna lie, like I've seen games like Bayonetta, I think, has great jiggle physics and everyone loves it. So it can be tastefully done, for sure.
It can be tastefully done, and I think it's about that. It's about common sense, right? Do you guys want to take another comment? Like we've got a lot of good comments. Like we have more and more. So we got a comment from JP that says we have more and more women students, and we are reaching the 50-50 in our game studies class. So I'm assuming that we're talking about what this comes from a student. Times are changing, and we emphasize a lot on the teamwork with respect and constructive dialogues. And speaking of cooperation, I think that this is probably one of the things that we can benefit as an industry, since we were talking about like more female specific personality traits, and we were talking about how there's not that much competition and there's more cooperation. Like, just if you want better teamwork, just get more girls in your team because they are more cooperation oriented. And I'm curious, is that a statement that we can make in your opinion? And this is
I will agree on that actually, because I'm looking at my team, for example, but also I'm looking at the teams inside the company and the teams that I'm recruiting for actually, and I'm seeing this dynamic between the team members when, I don't know, a new joiner is coming and she's a female, for example, it's a different type of approach actually, and it's cool to see how the team actually interacts with that new joiner, if she is a female or a male actually.
And Monica, do you see the same in game development teams?
Yeah, for sure. Like I even have the chance in my team right now. Like we've just recently gotten another game designer who's a female, and we had some great cooperation meetings. We tend to see that women in general are a lot more outspoken, or they want to share more. Or once you get to know them, they are and again, this comes back even to the competitiveness thing again, right? Like women are less likely to be competitive even in the workspace, and are more likely to be cooperative, and sort of have like the team and product interest above like their own ego. And I'm not saying that guys do that necessarily as a standard, but it's generally more likely to see it in teams where there are a lot of men kind of competing for who can do the best job, or who can work the most hours, or who can stay the longest at the office, or a lot of sort of toxic behaviors that we don't want to encourage. And usually when you bring a woman or two into the team, the dynamic kind of changes a bit, because they kind of try to skew the discussion more towards like the work, or more towards like the actually putting the even the players sort of own good above what the individuals want.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily agree with you. I don't necessarily agree with you on the fact that there's maybe more toxic conversations without necessarily women in the team. I think that a team, or any community for that matter, can have like a very specific type of toxicity. But I do understand how being more oriented towards cooperation, and this is something that we discussed, and this is something that you were mentioning, does definitely decrease the toxicity.
I think and I think we are both kind of right. Like maybe it's not necessarily just about like women and men. I think it's more about like having closed off communities, right? Like the more diversity you have inside the team, you kind of tend to have more opinions, or more divergent opinions, and there's a lot more conversation that needs to happen. Whereas if you have people who have the same background, gender, age, of course their opinions usually tend to be a bit more limited than if you would have a more diverse group.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's one of our strongest points as a species is the fact that we're able to cooperate. And like I see this a lot, but and I want to get I want to get some info from Amy as well on communities. But before we do that, I wanted to mention that the younger the community, be that a team or like a streaming community, it does feel like it's a bit more competitive. I wouldn't go over and say toxic, but I would say that it's more competitive. And I would say that the more experience you have, you kind of understand, and as you grow up, you understand that, you know what, maybe you should have, maybe your opinions are not as good as you think. Maybe it's worth listening to other people as well. So I think it definitely has something to do with not necessarily age, but maturity in general. But still, I don't think that contradicts what you were saying, which is teams and communities that are more diverse do tend to better get along. I think that's a fair point. And I want to take it to Amy as well, right? So you have, how big is your community, and how diverse is your community, and kind of like what you're seeing, what type of behaviors they're seeing over there?
Well, first of all, this was such a nice conversation about it. I have never think about this thing with the competition before. I'm gonna think about this in the future. And you want to give me a percent about my community? Let's say on Twitch, something like 80% male and 20% women. Maybe in the last time, let's say 70-30. And on Instagram, it's like half male, half women. Yeah, on Twitch are mostly more male than female. This is the way it is. And it's also about your content. Like, if I want to talk beauty and hair extensions and nails, more women are gonna watch my content. But I don't know, if I change the subject, I'm gonna have another viewership. You said something about those things that women are how did you say it? Women are not as competitive and
They tend to be more cooperative.
Is this from the instinct of a mother? I was thinking about this the entire time. Like, I mean, you can be fathers too, and you can have this instinct, but I don't know how to call it. I don't want to make to sound bad for you, but I feel a percent of this mother instincts is coming on this.
I mean, it definitely has something to do with that. I would say that that's probably a question again. That's we have a professional psychologist with us. I think we can definitely ask Mari about this, but I think it's not the only reason. Mari, can you help us?
Actually, yeah, it's not the only reason. Actually, it's perhaps another reason will be the fact that we were raised in a specific way, to be more careful with people around us, to look on their needs, and perhaps this type of behaviors that we saw can actually help us to be more cooperative with the others, actually, and to be more present there for them, actually. Yeah, but we are talking more than just one reason, actually, why we're building this way, actually.
Right. Okay. And thank you for explaining that. I do want to go to. I want to continue the conversation with Damien. Has it always been 80% male and 20% female? It sounds to me, because you mentioned something that caught my attention, which is if I do change the type of content that I make and I'm more about hair extensions and beauty, then that percentage of female is going to increase in the community. But I'm curious, like, what are the variations that you're seeing?
Sometimes I do makeup streams,
right,
and skincare routine streams. I do this, and I'm noticing the chat that there are a lot of girls, and their name is something like, I don't know, Cute Fluffy and Maria Pink or something like this, and I know they're girls, and they're really active on that conversation because they're interested on. But when I'm going back to the League of Legends, I know my viewers, they're like, oh my god, I want to play with you. Yeah, it depends of what are you doing. And it also depends, I think, if you're having a reaction, let's say you're doing reaction videos on Twitch, on your YouTube. Depends on what are you doing, but I think this is like half and 50-50 on this kind of content. Everybody's interested of, and I don't think it's such a huge difference in proportion between males and females if you're reacting to things. But if I'm gonna play Stardoll, for example, and sometimes I do play Stardoll on stream, I see a lot of girls, and sometimes I'm also checking the list of the viewers, and I know they're girls. Also some boys, but mainly girls.
It sounds to me like we should be talking about content creation responsibility, since we're talking about how we influence this industry and how we influence communities. It sounds to me like, because we were discussing about market research, and we were discussing about how people make specific games, specific content for specific audiences, and now we're hearing this from Amy as well. We're hearing that as a content creator, you can kind of see that live in your community, and it sounds to me that there's, I wouldn't call it a responsibility, but I think Monica made a good point about voting with your wallet. It's more like a financial responsibility, if you will, on content creators. If we want more women in the industry, and if we want more eyes on this industry from the female audience, it sounds like we have to build specific products in order to do that, and that only makes sense, right? So if you're selling only men's hats, like, don't be surprised if there's no girls walking into your store. It sounds to me like it's the same for game development, and it sounds to me like it's the same for the industry. If we're advertising this industry as a male industry, kind of to go back to what Monica was saying, and Mari as well, like, don't be surprised if you get only girls. However, that is changing, and I think that this is the second point that we have been discussing, which is evangelizing more of the industry, not only to women, but people in general. I think would help, but going out there and doing essentially what this campaign is doing with her own game, and letting people know that, hey, you know what? There's a stigma out there that says that women should be medics, where they can be awesome game designers, and maybe we get people thinking about that. So I think we've been touching on this. There's a few other comments. Sabrina makes a good point again to answer Amy. Yes, there is a heavy evolutionary psychology evidence based that women have a psychological adaptation mechanism called tend and befriend. It's quite fascinating if you research it. And Sabrina, thank you for mentioning that. And I think, like, everyone, the 5 people on this stream, go ahead and research that, because it's only going to broaden your experience. And then the final comment that we have here is, sir, I'm a full stack PHP website developer. Is there any vacancy for PHP website?
Laravel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remotely. Kindly please let me know about it. Hope to get a response soon. Thank you.
I can answer on that. Well, actually, here inside Amber, we don't use PHP, but you can add me on Facebook, and you can send me your profile, and we can say exactly what can we find for you in this industry.
There you go, Abdul. You lucky bastard. So, ladies, we've been doing this for the past, I think, almost 2 hours. And it's been really fun. And I'm wondering if there's any closing comments. I want to start with Amy, Mari, and then Monica. Any closing comments on the subject of women in gaming?
I want to congratulate you for doing this, for having the energy and the power to talk about this, to encourage women to follow their dreams, to do their best, to show that they're good and they have things to show. Well, right now, I don't remember, but after we end here, I'm gonna have few ideas. This is how it works, and I'm gonna be really frustrated about it, because right now I'm not having something in my mind.
We can do one podcast. Just talk about that, if you remember.
Well, let me think about it. If girls want to add something,
I can add something, that the fact is there is room for everyone. Actually, there is room for everyone, and we're equal, actually. So we have the equal chances. We have to take it, and actually we have to inform and stay informed. Actually, that will be my advice for everyone. Actually, yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, I think my closing statement is that I would absolutely love to work with more women. So if more women want to apply to Amber, that would be awesome.
Noted, Monica. Okay.
Thank you.
No pressure.
No pressure, but yeah, just I think it's wonderful to see that more and more women are applying and more women are considering this as a valid career choice, because it is. And I just want to sort of make it clear for one last time that I think that my experience with the gaming industry has been nothing but inclusive and great. And I think that, again, there was no pressure for me to be in a certain way or to change who I am, or like I can do hair and makeup, and I can play games, and I can talk about games, and while talking about fashion with a female colleague that I have, for example, and all of those things can be me while being a game developer, which I think is cool. And I think that if that message kind of gets across, like, I think more more girls might actually take a plunge and apply to be a game developer or a designer or an artist, or whatever it is that they want and dream about doing in the gaming industry.
Yeah. Double
Wait,
amen on that. Look, like, and this is a message not only to the women out there, but kind of like for everyone. It's a great industry. Definitely join this industry. Whether you want to be a game developer, or you want to be a content creator, or you want to be a kind of like esports athlete, or any. It's a huge industry, and join it, because you're gonna have fun. You're gonna learn a lot of things. It's 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 highly competitive, but it's competitive in the good way, because you have to stay up to date, and you get to to talk about business bikinis and tendon and defend mechanisms, and you get to meet wonderful people. So definitely join. um, so yes, we want to see more of you here. Madeline, we got one final comment from Madeline that I'm not gonna read, because you're here late. But we miss you, and hope to come back at some point. Thank you very much for being part of the stream. We should wrap this up, ladies. It's been a pleasure, and I hope I will talk to you soon again.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
thank
Now, here's the interesting thing. I don't know how to stop the stream. There's no.
you.
We're gonna be here